Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, we will be covering the commander of the Cosmic Control Rod, Annihilus, the armor-breaking, stifling, and fury-gaining cosmic terror. We will be breaking down all his abilities and the best ways to defeat him. Annihilus starts the fight with his Cosmic Control Rod active. This is the absolute core of Annihilus's abilities. Without it, he can still do a bit, but it's really where a lot of his source comes from. To start with, it grants him a whole list of immunities, including Incinerate, Frostbite, Cold Snap, Power Drain, Power Steal, Power Burn, Power Lock, and Enervate. The easiest way to remember this whole list is just to remember that it's thermal effects and power control effects. Annihilus also has an interesting interaction with Taunt. When taunted, he will gain true accuracy, unblockable, and unstoppable buffs. This combination makes him a real menace against any champion that inflicts Taunt. Remember that Taunt is different to Infuriate, though their effects are similar, so do double check which your champions are inflicting if you're unsure. Whilst the Cosmic Control Rod is active, all of Annihilus's attacks have a 60% chance to be an obliterating strike. This 60% cannot be affected by ability accuracy reduction, but we can still work with this later. Obliterating strikes have a 100% chance to inflict a relatively small armor break for 5 seconds, and any incoming stun debuffs are instantly purified when Annihilus launches an obliterating strike. This is why you may struggle to parry him. More on this and how we will parry him later on. Whenever Annihilus would inflict one of his armor breaks, he also has a 100% chance to inflict a Stifle debuff. These cap out at 12, but if you get to this point, then the fight is probably going really badly. These also reduce your combat power rate by 9% each, so when they stack up, you won't be gaining as much power as you might expect. Annihilus's first medium will give him a short 30% fury if it hits you while you are stifled, but more importantly, dashing back when you are stifled will trigger a 1.1 second unstoppable buff on Annihilus. Both of these effects will consume one stifle. If you have multiple stifles on you, this unstoppable can make it very difficult to get openings, as now you can't parry or intercept. Annihilus's Special 1 is slightly deceptive on its damage. Most of that damage comes from the third and final hit, particularly if it crits, so watch out for this. Each of the 3 hits also refresh any stifle debuffs on you if they strike you directly, and the final hit will pause them for 6 seconds, again on direct strikes only. You can block this no issue, though these hits can still count as obliterating strikes. They aren't just limited to basic attacks. Also, if you are hit, any paused stifles will increase Annihilus's offensive combat power rate by 9% each. So, 4 or 5 stifles on you, and he will be gaining a lot more power than expected. The Special 2 is borderline undexable, and will consume all stifles on you. Annihilus will gain a 30% fury buff for each stifle consumed for 18 seconds. If you block this, the beam attacks, as well as the initial wave, can still be obliterating strikes, so there's a good chance he's going to stack on more stifles and armor breaks onto you. The Special 3 will inflict you with 10 stifles, and the duration of all stifles is increased by 125% until there are no stifles left on you. But as always, Special 3s are best avoided. Annihilus's signature ability provides him with both offensive and defensive bonuses, and really scales up when at high sig. He gains a lot more bonuses from 100 to 200 than between 0 and 100. When his opponent's back is against the wall, so that's yours in this case, Annihilus will gain a passive aptitude, increasing the potency of his furies, armor ups, and precisions by between 10 and 100%. This won't come up that often, and realistically it will only affect his furies, but if you are blocking a Special 2 in the corner, just know that it will hit pretty hard. The second part is when Annihilus is in his corner. When this happens, he will gain a block penetration buff, allowing his hits to ignore between 25 and 100% of your block proficiency. If you can, it's best to avoid pushing Annihilus all the way into his corner, as the block damage of a max sig Annihilus is the same as if you weren't blocking at all. So, what do we need against Annihilus? The biggest thing about him is that Cosmic Control Rod. If we can get rid of that, you can parry him as normal, and he won't go unstoppable. He will also lose all his immunities. So how do we get rid of it? Well, luckily for us, it is just a buff, so we can do anything that we would normally do to remove buffs. We do have to be a little bit careful, as whenever you activate a Nullify, Fate Seal, or Stagger ability, it is instantly purified and the Cosmic Control Rod is removed that way. In my testing though, this is glitchy as hell. My best guess is that there are silent abilities going on in the background that we aren't shown on screen, and it can be consumed at sort of random times. Just know that the Cosmic Control Rod is a buff, and we can remove it with pretty much any of the standard means. This really opens up our options. To start with, basically any of the top mystics with easy access to Nullify, Fate Seal or Stagger should be great options. Black Widow Clairvoyant, Diablo with his Nullify Pre-Fight, the Essence of Null, Doctor Doom, and so on. Symbiote Supreme gets a special mention here, as right at the start of the fight he will nullify all buffs on the opponent, so there's no need to even worry about this from the first parry. Do note though, when you remove the Cosmic Control Rod, Annihilus will gain 3 40% Furies for 10 seconds, and then the Cosmic Control Rod comes back. But hey, just go ahead and remove these Furies as well. No worries. Our second set of options is anyone that can benefit from Annihilus's debuffs. And the main two options here are Kingpin and Absorbing Man. Kingpin can shrug off the debuffs, and he can do this more reliably with the Hood or Joe Fixit synergy, and this lets him ramp up his rage and therefore overpowers very quickly. Also, no stifles, because you shrug them off, means no unstoppable. Do keep track of your debuffs though, just in case one sneaks through, and you should be fine. Absorbing Man can ramp up super fast from the armor breaks being placed on you, allowing you to go for your 600 morph charge medium light medium really quickly and drop a massive level 2. You can deal some insane damage here, a really good option. Annihilus is also metal, so the Magnetos will do their thing. Red Mags is my personal favourite, as if you can get to the special 3, with a good number of prowess, you can wave goodbye to basically any Annihilus in the game. Remember though, that obliterating strikes can't have their ability accuracy reduced. Ish. The description only gives half the story here. Yes, an obliterating strike has a 60% chance to happen, but the armor break that goes with it is not fixed. That's a 100% chance to happen. So with Magneto, that reduces it by 70%, we now only have a 30% chance for the armor break to be applied. Stifle's only applied when an armor break is applied, and the Stifle also has a 100% chance to apply that we can reduce by a further 70%. So that's 70% on the armor break, and then 70% again on that remaining 30%, to give quite a low chance that the Stifle triggers. No Stifle, no Unstoppable. If you don't have any of these options, there are still a few things we can do. Firstly, learning to re-parry can be super helpful. There's only a 60% chance that your parry won't stick, so if you can reliably land a few re-parries back to back in the same combo, you're in with a pretty good chance. If you can get 3, that gives you almost an 80% chance that one of them lands. Remember also, the stun shrug off only works against debuffs, and the fact that it is not stun immunity is really important. This means we can use a White Mag's pre-fight as long as we are attacking with a metal or a hero champion. So you could bring in Hulk, who is a hero that isn't metal. You could bring in Apocalypse, who's metal and not a hero. Or you could bring in Archangel, who's both. Also, Storm Pyramid X can instantly replace any purified stun debuff with a longer stun passive. OG Storm and Bishop can also do this, but that is only versus skill champions, so we can't use them here. One final point is that Annihilus' dash animation leaves him vulnerable to what's called a side step intercept. If you bait out his dash attack by backing off and letting him come to you, perform a light attack at just the right moment and you can get in a free opener. Champions with much longer range light attacks are best for this, but most work against Annihilus. Worth testing in a duel if you're unsure before your real fight. So, Annihilus gains a long list of immunities from his Cosmic Control Rod, as well as the ability to perform obliterating strikes. These can inflict armor breaks and also stifle you. Annihilus will purify all incoming stun debuffs when performing an obliterating strike, and dashing back when you are stifled causes Annihilus to go unstoppable for 1.1 seconds. Counters to Annihilus include Most Good Mystics that can remove his Cosmic Control Rod buff, Kingpin as he ramps up from the debuffs, Absorbing Man, the same, and the Magnetos as Annihilus is metal. If you just want to be able to parry him, a white Magneto pre-fight will give you passive stuns if you are using a metal or hero champion, and Storm Pyramid X can replace any of the purified stuns with longer passive ones. Finally, learning to use the sidestep intercept technique can be very helpful for getting your openings. I hope this helps you against your future Annihiluses, and do let me know how your fights are going now. I'm currently working on 6.1.2 to continue the Act 6 run-through, but still let me know what you want to see next. I'm more than happy to keep making these champion guides in parallel. Thank you, and I will see you next time.